IFW Radio, another reason why freight is great.
Thanks for tuning in to IFW Radio, the voice of the freight and logistics industry. My name's Kizzy Nkwacha, and today I'm joined by Damien Brett and Katerina Kerr, who will be giving us a roundup of some of the big breaking stories in the world of freight. But before I hand you over to Damien and Kat, I just wanted to pass on this story that I read in one of the newspapers today. It's quite an extraordinary tale that stuck in my mind. I just thought, well, you know, when I get on there later on today, I'm going to pass this on and see what you think. It appears that a piece of string was reported to have gone into a pub and demanded to be served a drink. Yes, I know, strange, isn't it? That's why I thought, extraordinary story. Anyway, there's this piece of string apparently had gone into a local pub and asked for a drink, and the pub landlord had taken one look at him and said, I can't serve you because you are a piece of string. You see, piece of string not allowed to be served in pubs in the UK apparently. Anyway, so this piece of string, slightly taken back by this rebuff, went back to his friends and told them the story, and they came up with this rather ingenious ploy for getting around the pub landlord's reservations. They decided to tie the piece of string into a knot in the middle. Yes, they tied him up into a knot in his middle, and then, and this is the kicker, they frazzled his top and bottom end completely, so he was now totally unrecognizable. He was a knot in the middle and frazzled top and bottom end, and you know, completely different looking piece of string. So he walks back into a pub very confident and confronts the landlord and says, I would like a drink, please. And the pub landlord does a double take, looks at him again and says, here, aren't you a piece of string? And the piece of string replies, no, I'm afraid not. You see, I'm afraid not, because he had, you know, there was a knot in his, and then his head top. And here's Damien and Kat with a roundup of the week's news. You see, piece of string, not frazzled. Oh, blimey.
Hello and welcome to another IFW News Roundup with me, Damien Brett, IFW's Chief Reporter. So it's been a bit of a busy week for me this week. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure why I think it's been a busy week, but I'm sure it has. I feel like for the long week. One reason that it might have been slightly busier than normal is that IFW actually this week recorded its first ever roundtable discussion on supply chain security, and we had people from across the industry come in and chat about what they think government proposals will do to supply chains, and also the ways in which supply chains should be secured. So yeah, keep an eye out in IFW over the next few days for a bit of an update on what we're going to do with that. We've recorded the whole thing. We got a team in to come and record it, and they're going to edit it, and then we'll certainly make the recording downloadable, and also we should be doing some sort of transcript as well. So if you're interested in supply chain security, keep your eye on the IFW bulletin or on the IFW website, or even the LinkedIn group, and yeah, download it when it's ready. Other than that, I'm going to kick off with the top story of the week, or what I think is the top story of the week. Well, actually, it's probably not the top story of the week, but it's one that interests me the most, so a bit of a selfish choice in the story, but yeah. And then after that, we've got Katerina Kerr, who is going to do a countdown of the most read stories on IFW's website from the week. So that's always interesting to see what you guys have been clicking on, rather than what we think you've been clicking on. So I'll look forward to hearing that on Monday. Right, yeah, so my top story of the week is kind of a bit of a story that I feel a bit connected to, because I'm from a town called Folkestone, which is next to Dover. And this week, Dover being Europe's busiest ferry port and obviously well known throughout the world. But this week, the people of Dover have voted overwhelmingly against plans to place the ferry port into the hands of a private company. And they voted in a parish poll which was organised by the People's Port Trust, and 97.8%, so yeah, quite a majority, 97.8% of voters were against Dover Harbour Board's plans to privatise the trust port. And over 25% of the people of Dover turned out to vote, which is actually more than in last year's general election. And Dover Harbour Board, well, the reason they held this vote or the People's Port Trust decided to organise this vote was the Dover Harbour Board believes the port needs a £400 million privatisation in order to fund a new terminal, which it says is necessary to meet expected volume growth. Its current trust port status stops it raising cash from banks, so it would need to fund the expansion itself, and that obviously means saving money over years and years, which it might not be able to do in time to meet predicted growth. But as a kind of alternative to the straight privatisation that you'd normally get of a port, the People's Port Trust has put forward a rival plan that would see the facility bought out by the local community. I assume, and I'm 99% sure, that would be backed by banks. They would buy it for around £200 million. As well as the local community supporting the idea, the concept has also got the backing of major banks, port users, and the town's Conservative MP, a guy called Charlie Elphick, and also Dame Vera Lynn, who you might know for singing the iconic World War II anthem White Cliffs of Dover. Now, although the parish poll isn't legally binding, so it might not have too much of an impact, Neil Wiggins, who is the chairman of the People's Port Trust, told me that the result would put pressure on the government to opt for the People's Port concept because it fits in with its big society idea. And I don't know if you've heard of the big society, but it's this idea put forward by the Conservative government where the local community gets a lot more involved in local issues, and the People's Port Trust are kind of saying, well, we've tried to get people involved in local issues, they want to get involved, and back up what you've said by supporting our idea. However, Wiggins admitted that some Conservative Party members tended to favour traditional privatisation schemes, but it pointed out that the People's Port scheme had the backing of Dover's Tory MP and would still add millions of pounds to government coffers. In response to the bold poll, Dover Harbour Board has said it has recognised the importance of local opinion, and it has accordingly involved the community extensively in its consultation process. And it said it would reflect on the result of the town poll, but it remained absolutely convinced that its voluntary scheme, which was developed over a number of years, represents the best and only option for a sustainable and growing port business with the key interests of both the UK economy and the local community at its heart. Dover Harbour Board asked the government to privatise the port last January, and Wiggins told me that a decision should be made soon, but he also said that the government's been promising a decision on the port's privatisation for quite a while now, so we don't actually know how long it's going to take. Wiggins also revealed to me that if the People's Port bid proved successful, it would review the current plans for building a new terminal. He said the port would still need to expand, but it would review the master plan that includes the Terminal 2 project and decide if it's necessary in its current form. But he said the port would keep sufficient land available to develop what is necessary when it is necessary. So yeah, that's my story of the week, and it's really interesting because being from the UK and the area where Dover is, the port plays such an important part in people's lives that it'll be interesting to see which way the government goes. I mean, both ideas seem to have their merits. Yeah, I'm not really one to pass judgment, so we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, that's enough of me babbling on about ports. Here's Katerina Kerr with the top 5 most read stories of the week.
Thanks, Damien. Now for the top 5 most read stories of the week, the part of the radio that you've all been waiting for. So in 5th place, with 667 views, Container Line orders 6 new vessels. Now, Hamburg Süd has placed an order for 6 9,600 TEU container ships from South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries, valued at $711 million. The agreement includes an option for Hamburg Süd to order another 4 vessels of the same class, and they're all scheduled for delivery between May 2013 and January 2014. So far this year, Hyundai Heavy Industries shipbuilding division, the largest in the world, has won orders worth $3.4 billion for 13 ships. Now, the fourth most read story of the week, with 702 views, is US steps up air cargo screening after radiation scare. Now, this is to do with Japan, and a lot of them on this list is to do with Japan this week. US authorities have stepped up scanning of air cargo originating from Japan after low levels of radiation were detected at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport on an incoming flight from Tokyo. Initially, there were concerns that the radiation that was detected could have been from the Fukushima nuclear power plant, seriously damaged by the earthquake and subsequent tsunami. But it later emerged that the radiation emanated from a shipment of medical equipment. But despite this, US Customs and Border Protection said it has stepped up its screening of cargo and passengers for radiation on flights from Japan. Meanwhile, Maersk Line vessels are avoiding some areas off the coast of Japan because of concerns about radiation levels. And a Maersk spokesman told IFW currently that they're adhering to a safety zone 80 kilometres around the Fukushima plant. And they continue to consult various national and international experts and all authorities that are evaluating the development hour by hour. And they are notifying their colleagues, vessels and customers accordingly. So the third most read story of the week, with 762 views, is largest Ro-Ro vessel ever built is launched. The Wilhelm Wilhelmsen Group has launched the largest Ro-Ro vessel ever built. The Tonsberg has a length of 265 metres and a cargo volume of 138,000 cubic metres over 6 fixed and 3 hoistable decks. The vessel, built by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, is part of the Mark V series of 4 vessels that will be delivered to Wilhelm Wilhelmsen and its partner Volynus Lines over the next 2 years. The second vessel will be delivered in August and the remaining 2 in 2012. These new vessels use 15 to 20% less fuel per transported unit than their predecessors, thanks to an optimised hull and a number of energy-saving features that they've incorporated into the design, such as a streamlined rudder design. The second most read story, with 829 views, is Grim Outlook for Global Automotive and High-Tech Supply Chains. The impact of the earthquake, tsunami and nuclear plant closures on the output of key Japanese component suppliers, distribution systems, power supplies, airports and ports is already causing a massive disruption to automotive supply chains, according to the IHS automotive analyst Aaron Bragman. He said production of new models of many cars, particularly fuel-efficient smaller models, had all but ceased in northern Japan. And he said that the supply of Japanese vehicles in the US is likely to diminish in the short term, and this is starting to drive up prices for certain imported vehicles. Dale Ford, an analyst with IHS iSupply, said the crisis in Japan could cause global shortages of silicon used to make semiconductor chips. And Japan produces about 60% of the world's supply of this type of silicon, so although the global supply chain had 2 weeks of component inventory in the pipeline for semiconductor parts, Ford said that shortfalls were likely to appear later this month. He said that these shortfalls and their price impact are likely to linger until the third quarter. And he also said that the supply of certain electronic components would be affected in coming weeks. And now we have made our way to the most read story of the week, and it was viewed 1,073 times. It's Troubled Beluga files for bankruptcy protection. So, Beluga Shipping and its subsidiary Beluga Chartering have filed for insolvency protection last week because of financial irregularities in their published figures. Following the discovery of the irregularities, Beluga's main shareholder, Oaktree Capital, which has a 49.5% stake, filed criminal charges against Beluga CEO Neil Stolberg, who has a 48% share in the company. Stolberg has denied the charges. Because Beluga has been unable to pay charter bills, Germany's KG Shipping Fund and other vessel owners withdrew around 50 ships from Beluga's fleet of 72 vessels. Approximately 15,000 KG investors have put money into funds that chartered out ships to the company. Oaktree said it had convened meetings with various significant stakeholders to facilitate a longer-term restructuring, which will enable Beluga to become more efficient and to take advantage of current market conditions. So that concludes this week's top 5 news roundup stories. If you'd like to see more news, just visit the IFW website, ifw-net.com. Alternatively, you can take part in a lot of heated industry discussions and debates by tweeting us at twitter.com/ifwnet or by liking our Facebook page, which you can find by going to facebook.com/newsifw, or you can join our LinkedIn group, which is searchable under IFW Cargo, and you will find us there.
IFW Radio, another reason why freight is great.